The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star.
Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Thanks for joining us on this Victory Monday as your Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Giants. First of many, hopefully.
Yes,
40-0. I hope y'all enjoyed a 40 burger today. Well, ladies, a lot to talk about. Usually, you know, we have been in this grind of not really knowing what to talk about by the end of the week. This game gave us something to talk about for the rest of the year. So that's a very good problem to have. Christy, you were there at MetLife Stadium, running on an hour and a half of sleep, I might add. Just in case you don't know how hard
we
Christy
got back
grinds.
early last night. The
Crazy.
charter got back early. We were supposed to land at like 4:05 a.m. We landed about 3:45. So all is good.
Christy's a trooper because not only has she been working all day, we were just at the press conferences with the coordinators and Mike McCarthy. She comes to do Girls Talk, Boys Talk, and then she has Cowboys Hour tonight as well.
Yes, the Cowboys Hour presented by Miller Lite, 6 p.m. in front of the Cowboys fans. We're at Cane Rosso, which is here at the Star District.
Delicious
the Star in
pizza.
Frisco.
Very
Great
good.
pizza. The mozzarella is terrific too. But Leighton Vander Esch is the guest tonight. So if you want to come meet the Wolf Hunter, and Brad Shem and I will be co-hosting, and excited to have Leighton tonight because it was such a dominating performance by the defense. And of course, he's the signal caller wearing the green dot as the one of the starting linebackers there. And just what a performance last night. It was just only 2 missed tackles. Dan Quinn confirmed today, and then 75% pass rush rate. So just outstanding performance.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I'm laughing because that's so hard to say. Pass, rush, win, rate.
Pass rush win weight?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
There it is.
That's how I would say it if I tried to
say it
all
5 times
together.
fast. You can't.
You know what? I don't want to embarrass myself today. I'm
But
good.
that's why I was laughing. My bad. I couldn't hold it in.
How about Igbenogany?
Igbenogany.
Igbenogany.
I got it now.
So,
Especially after the start
who
of
had
the game?
him first,
Nobody.
scoring first in 2023 for the Dallas Cowboys?
If you
Nobody.
do, congratulations. You can tell the future because that was insane. What a
Nobody,
way to kick off
but
the
maybe
game.
CJ Goodwin, because Wanye said in his interview that when you guys asked him after the game, he said that CJ told him that was open, that was an opportunity, and so you can even see CJ Goodwin on tape when they're running into the end zone. He's saying, "I told you to Igbenogany," and I'm like, that's why you like veterans. That's why you need veterans on your team. They see things that you don't see sometimes.
Maybe he has a crystal ball of some kind.
He's
Hey,
cerebral like
who
that.
knows? Let's go over some key stats because, you know, Mike McCarthy talked about this game. Pretty much they celebrated last night. I like how he put it when he said some of the guys were even asleep on the plane. That's just how they felt after the game. But let's go over it. 40-0. What a game. This was the largest shutout in Dallas Cowboys history and the largest shutout in an NFL season opener since 1999. No, we're not talking about Prince. Not going to party like it's 1999, but we could because back then that was when Pittsburgh beat Cleveland 43-0.
Yeah,
so,
that was Cleveland coming back as an expansion franchise, so, to
very
put it in perspective.
Historic game for the Cowboys. Needless to say, but the Dallas Cowboys turning the page, putting that to rest as they prepare for the New York Jets this week. But let's go over some of these numbers here because the defense and special teams starting things out early, special teams setting the tone, defense just continued to grow off of that momentum. 2 interceptions for Deron Bland, which led to a touchdown. Stephon Gilmore, welcome to the Dallas Cowboys, got himself an interception. 7 sacks, 2 for Osa, 2 for Dorrance Armstrong, 1 for Micah Parsons, 1 for Chauncey Golston, 1 for DeMarcus Lawrence. And then, of course, you had Wanye Thomas, who blocked the kick, Noah Igbenogany taking it back for 6, the first touchdown of the season like we were talking about earlier. That's on the defensive side of things. On the offensive side of things, Tony Pollard with 2 rushing touchdowns, and then Kavontae Turpin for the only passing touchdown of the night. But you know what? That's okay. That's okay. We're going to get into it. Ladies, I'm going to defer right to Aisha. Aisha, you are our film guru. What did it feel like for you to go back and watch the film today after you had time to just really soak in what happened, and then you got to go back and watch the film today? First few things that stuck out to you early on.
So at first glance, number one, I watched one rewatch, and I think I have to do at least 3 to be on point. But
There you go.
I gotta put that out there. But I will say, they just look so much faster than the Giants. I mean, even from on the offensive side of the ball, the way that the offensive line got off the line of scrimmage, the way the defensive line got off the line of scrimmage, they were noticeably faster and sharper and efficient than the New York Giants. And that's the main thing that stuck out to me. And then also too, got to get a feel. I think we talked about it all last week, like this defense and what we felt like the energy was behind this defense. What J-Ron say, like, we are prime time.
Mm-hmm.
We are prime time. And you really just saw that chip on their shoulder.
AT&T North?
AT&T North is crazy. How audacious to say something like that. But no, those are probably the things we've been around this team. We have the opportunity to go in and talk to these guys, and they've been literally just chomping at the bit to get after it. And to actually see it on film was really exciting, but just to see the overall speed on both sides of the ball, yeah, it was definitely impressive.
And there's one thing to talk the talk, but you have to walk the walk. And so far they've done this under Dan Quinn. But also the young guys making plays, the Wanye Thomases,
Yes,
the Marquise Bells. We'll be talking about them more as we go along. But the brashness with which they play and the attitude, I really love that. But the thing that stood out to me today, Mike McCarthy spoke to the media from about 3:15 to about 3:40. And this is something that doesn't show up in official stats. But one of the football fundamentals of the Cowboys under Coach McCarthy is big plays. And he said that generally, just on average in an NFL game, there are 35 big play opportunities in a game. That would be for both teams combined. So big plays would be a fumble, a forced fumble, an interception, a blocked field goal, a catalytic sack, maybe a sack, strip, fumble, all these things that the Cowboys had last night. But anyway, what McCarthy said that caught my attention today is that the Cowboys in that 40-0 victory last night were plus 21 in big plays, plus 21. And he said that's the highest number that he's ever seen as a head coach. So catalytic plays by catalytic players, and it got away from the Giants early thanks to those big plays early. And man, it was so beautiful because over 80,000 fans last night. I think it was 80,800 and something. And from the middle of the fourth quarter on, in the pouring rain, there were about maybe 8,000 left in the stands, and 7,990 of them were Cowboys fans.
Wow.
And it was such a blowout that the coaches came down from the coaches' booth with a couple minutes left in the game, okay? So Dan Quinn, the defensive coordinator, he's up in the booth, right? He calls in from the booth. Oh, look, I hear this, the tunnel to the Cowboys sideline. So to the right, I hear all the Cowboys fans. They've all moved down a lot of them have moved down to the lower level, and they're all behind the Cowboys bench and towards the tunnels and stuff like that. And I hear this roar, and it captures my attention. I look, and here comes Dan Quinn running out the tunnel, and the fans are going crazy. The Cowboys fans recognize him immediately, and he gets this giant ovation as he runs out on the field. And so the coaches left from upstairs because it was
That tells you
so over.
Have you seen that before in a game, Christy?
No.
And you've been covering the Cowboys how long? Let's emphasize this.
Well, 25. This is my 25th year as the sideline reporter
you've
for
never
Cowboys
seen
Radio.
that?
No.
There you go.
Not coming down early. Well, they come down
Not in that way.
preseason, mate. Well, no, you would still have a few up there because sometimes coordinators call from the sideline.
Yeah.
Depending.
Yeah.
It's up to the coordinator whether they want to be on the sideline or not. And Dan Quinn calls from upstairs.
Yeah.
So
I want to say the last time, I think in recent history, we can remember Dan Quinn being on the sideline was when Mike McCarthy was out and he stepped in
right.
to fill Mike's spot while he was gone. But something I wanted to make sure to mention was we're talking about all of the success and all of these things that really defined how this Cowboys success is measured in history and everything of that nature. This was done in the pouring rain. I want to throw that out there. That is not to be ignored. Christy, you said it was raining harder than it probably looked on the broadcast.
Oh, so much harder.
About it.
Imagine this team without pouring rain involved. And that could be said on both sides of the ball. That could be said for the Giants as well. Maybe some things wouldn't have happened as they did for the Giants. However, this defense went out and took full advantage of this Giants team in the pouring rain and still had a historic game. Just want to point that out.
Yeah, and the thing was, it was not raining in the pregame warmups, and so like even special teams. So Brandon Aubrey's your rookie kicker, and it's the first time in a regular season game you're going through the operation with your new long snapper Trent Sieg and with Brian Anger, your punter, as the holder. They got no practice snaps in warmups in the rain, handling a wet football, because it wasn't raining in the warm-ups, but it was raining hard enough that Dak Prescott had to make an equipment change in the first half. Dak wears a visor, and it was raining so hard that the rain, the water was beating on his visor, and it was, hard to see through all that. And so actually it was in the middle of a series that they, when Dak came to the sideline, a timeout had been called. And so Mike McCord and Dylan Keene, Bucky Buchanan, another one of the equipment managers, I believe it was Dylan, and I'm going to credit Chris Beam, our producer, and Cowboys videographer, producer extraordinaire. We've been on the sideline together for many years. He's the one that saw this happen, that they removed Dak's visor from his helmet during the series so that he could have a better view. Now, guys like CeeDee Lamb, he wears a visor. He kept his on, but Dak was having problems just trying to keep it dry and keep the water off the visor.
I was trying to figure out what was different.
Yeah.
Because when you go back and watch it, even during the game, I was like, why did he do this? I couldn't grasp what was different about his appearance, but that's what it was.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. There you go. Well, Christy has a lot of really good stuff from the sideline. I want to get right to it. But first, let's take our first break. Let's take a breather. Everybody get ready because we're about to give you some really good stuff and insight from Christy's sideline report. Stay with us. It's Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and we'll be right back.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that sixth ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Back to Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We're continuing all things New York Giants and Dallas Cowboys. But first, Rally Days presented by SeatGeek give the NFL fans an experience of a lifetime the day prior to Dallas Cowboys home games. On September 16th, enjoy activities at Miller Lite House, get behind-the-scenes tour of the AT&T Stadium, and more. Visit attstadium.com/Rally Days for more information and get your tickets today. Man, that game is going to come up fast already on Sunday. Interesting. But, Christy, let's get into this. I don't want to waste any time because you have a lot of really good stuff. Mike McCarthy in his press conference today talked about having a rain plan, and he talked about how this was something, continuing our conversation from the first segment, they had to prepare for. They were doing some wet ball drills. He said 2 of the 3 days of practice, and going into the game, he almost felt like they didn't do enough. But boded well. And what I liked how he talked about was his play calling sheet. Actually, there were some plays that he went over before the game he was striking out or putting in there saying he did want to call that depending on what the weather was. So along with the weather changes and along with the rain game plans, there were some other plans that were diverted a little bit because of coaching changes during the game. Can you talk a little bit about that and the situation as a whole?
Yes, running backs coach Jeff Blasco is on a medical leave of absence. So he missed a couple days of practice last week, and then he was not on this road trip. So the way that the coaching staff compensated for Blasco's absence is they had Ramon Chin-Young. This is his first year with the Dallas Cowboys. It's his third year in the NFL, and an awesome story because 3 years ago he was coaching Texas high school football. But Ramon Chin-Young is the assistant offensive line coach, so he works with Mike Solari. Ramon, during the preseason, has been on the sideline. But Jeff Blasco, the running backs coach, is up in the booth. And so those coaches who are up in the booth on the offensive side of the ball are basically an extra set of eyes for Coach McCarthy, right? Communicating things down to the sideline. And so the way that they adjusted things logistically was Coach Chin-Young went from down on the sideline, taking Blasco's spot up in the booth, and then Mike McCarthy wanted to give credit to Evan Harrington, who is an offensive assistant who's down on the sideline. So he was working more specifically with the running backs because usually for a position you have two coaches for most of the positions, and so you'll have one of them down on the sideline with the guys, and the other is if there are two, is probably up in the booth. And so anyway, but kudos to Evan Harrington, and it was a great, I thought, Aisha, what did you think about debut for Tony Pollard as the undisputed number one back on the depth chart?
Oh, yeah, he looked himself. He looked explosive. I liked the usage of him, but this offensive line...
Oh, yeah, awesome.
This offensive line played
Literally.
really stout. Shut up.
There you go.
She's
Oh, boy.
going to jail.
Oh, boy, Victory Monday.
Oh, my God.
It's going to be a long season if we have a lot of these.
Yeah, you know what? Extra punts, extra victory. Why not?
There you go.
But yeah, no, I mean, and again, like, we may not think of that as a big thing, the coaching change and having that coach that's typically down there on the field moved up to the booth. We might think that that's not a big deal, but for players, that might really be a big change. That might be something that they had to adjust to. And I thought that Rico Dowdle showed you what he was capable of in a couple of his plays with so much power. I enjoyed seeing him a little bit we got, but as far as the running game in itself, it's raining. You got to figure something out, and you saw Mike McCarthy figure some things out with the run game, specifically once they got into that red area after they had gotten down there a few times and didn't have success. When he saw that running game was there, he went to it.
Yeah, I want you, and I know you guys spotted this already, but just for the folks who haven't studied last night's game, it was cool because on Pollard's first touchdown run, did you see what they did with the line? They took Tyron Smith from left tackle, moved him to the right side outside of Terrence Steele. So, of course, the play is to the right side. Jake Ferguson, by the way, lined up next to Adoga, so basically where the left tackle spot would be, because Tyron was next to Terrence and just helped pave the way for Pollard on that first touchdown run.
Also, something that was noted while we're talking about blocking, hello tight end room and their abilities to help block during this game. That was something I noticed right off the bat. And, there's not a lot to complain about when you're talking about a 40-0 victory, a historic victory for the Dallas Cowboys. Something that was noted, though, was the ball stability within the tight end room, and it just really wasn't there, given it was raining. We know that. It's very uncharacteristic of guys like Peyton Hendershot and Jake Ferguson to drop balls when it's coming to them and perfectly placed balls from Dak Prescott at that. However, Mike McCarthy talked about that. I asked him about that in the press conference today, and I didn't even ask about the drop balls. I said, in terms of blocking, did you enjoy it? And he said, yeah, it was great. Loved what he sees from them. And he said, those guys will be the first ones to tell you where they dropped off when dropping those passes. He said they work well together. They're going to hold each other accountable. So I really don't see that being an issue. I know it's going to be talked about because, again, there's only so much you can nitpick within this game. But I just wanted to put it out there that tight end room and their starting point for blocking for the rest of the season is very, very exciting, and it has a lot of good potential in it.
Yeah, and to your point, Schoonmaker threw some good blocks out there yesterday as well. Like you said, the whole tight end room, but I want to highlight the wide receiver room and their blocking downfield and their willingness. Michael Gallup had a couple of really great blocks. Jalen Tolbert was active as well. I felt like that's something that you're looking for with your wide receiver group, especially when it's raining. They're not getting a whole bunch of passes. They're not getting a whole bunch of opportunity to have the selflessness to be like, you know what, man, we're going to get it, or however we're going to get it, and for them to be active. I wanted to add on that was something I noticed as well, Jess.
Yeah, and Jalen Tolbert, we talked last week about him on special teams, and we thought he was going to be gunner. Did you see him down there getting his first tackle on special teams? Man, he was right on it, and Lipke the rookie was there to help clean it up. But that was really good. But the one thing with Kevontae Turpin, part of the wide receiver core, but the way that he was used for in the run game and the pitches and his 7-yard touchdown run there. But Mike McCarthy said something very interesting in the press conference this afternoon. He said that one of the priorities of the offseason was to use Kevontae Turpin this year as a football player and not as a gadget guy, which is what he was last year. Yep. And I thought that was very telling. What were y'all's initial impressions of seeing Turpin out there in the backfield?
I was all about that. I've been high on the Kevontae Turpin train since last year. And talking to him and even just seeing his confidence grow since he first got here and seeing what a well-rested, well-rested minded, and then physically as well, what that does for Kevontae Turpin. I'm telling you, at OTAs and minicamp, I was like, oh my gosh, Kevontae Turpin, hello. We already knew you were fast, but what is going on? Something that I really love about talking to Kevontae is one of the first things that we bonded on was gymnastics. He actually has a gymnastics background. And so I found that out last season when he was pulling out those backflips out of nowhere. I was like, there's no way you have that kind of form and you were not in gymnastics. So something I talked to him about last season was that background. I talked to him about it a few weeks ago. Actually, it was last week. It's all starting to feel long.
Feels like a few weeks ago.
And I talked to him about it, and it was interesting because I told him there was a catch he made at practice that I was looking down at my phone, and she's like, did you just see Terp? Did you just see what he did? And I talked to him about it afterwards. I didn't see it, but I asked him, and he said that the background with gymnastics comes from him when he was 8 years old. He would play football. He played basketball. He was in gymnastics. He was kind of a triple threat when it came to sports. And that the way you train for gymnastics and the way you train to run and kind of spring your body up is what helps him get those jump balls and what helps him have that initial step to be so fast when he is in that returner position. Even when he's just getting the ball, that's why he has that initial speed and takeoff, is because it's kind of ingrained in his brain with that gymnastics background to have that initial takeoff. So if you go back and you compare how a gymnast runs when they're about to take off to do a tumbling pass, and you compare it to Kevontae Turpin and how he runs and how he takes off, pretty spot on. So little nugget there for you. But to answer your question, I was excited, period. I was excited.
Yeah. And he, we talked about the fact that this Mike McCarthy offense, one of the upsides about it is that there are wrinkles. It is a new system. So for this first 4 or 5 weeks, there's going to be teams still trying to figure out what they're doing. I love the usage of him and from a motion standpoint, the pre-snap motion, because what you're doing is putting on tape that teams have to respect him. They have to respect his speed. They have to respect. So when he goes in motion, it also gives Dak Prescott information now. And so I'm pretty sure they're going to start, adding different things as the season progresses. But just to see him get out in space, I mean, we see Deebo Samuel do it all the time coming out of the backfield, and you're just like, man, like last year, he's been like, man, I wish we could do something like that. And then, so to see it in real time and to start seeing them using him in this, and I love that you said, like that Mike McCarthy said, we're going to use him as a football player, not a gadget guy, because he is a football player.
Real quick, I want to ask you, Aisha, you made a really good point now in saying, this is the first year under this Mike McCarthy play calling system. obviously the defense is 3 years ahead of the offense, right? So kind of go into the positives that you saw from what you saw from a rain game even under Mike McCarthy's new play calling. What are some of the changes that you saw early on compared to last year, and how is it going to bode well as it has more time to iron on and guys continue to grow under it?
Well, one thing I noticed first was the control of the tempo. How they, whether it's fast, whether it's slow. I mean, you could tell that it was intentional in certain points to slow down the game. I love the fact that Mike McCarthy went for the dagger there with Michael Gallup before the half. Didn't get it.
Talked about that.
Didn't get it, but just let's go try to get something. If we don't get something, let's just get out of this half safe. Because if you don't remember, last year, a lot of Dak Prescott's interceptions came right before the half.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was like, for what?
And
Why?
and that's why last night I was opposite of you. I'm like, it's a 4-possession lead. What the heck are you doing?
No, I liked
took like
the
12
thinking.
seconds or 15 seconds off the clock, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, I understand the reasoning stuff, but I'm like, oh, please.
Stressing you out a little bit.
Well, it also, too, is trying to get, he and Dak, and I've talked to Michael Gallup about this, Dak and Michael Gallup, they always take time. No matter how much chemistry they have, they take time to get that deep ball. And I think that's going to open up this offense. So I get them trying to go at it. I get it. But back to my point, I was just saying I liked the situational play calling and some of the decisions that he made to keep these guys safe. But then just also understanding, we ain't got to show our hand this week, my guy. We don't have to show you everything we can do. We can simplify and move down the field methodically. And I love that wide receivers were wide open. That's what I loved, Christy.
Yeah.
Also, speaking of that Michael Gallup play, Mike McCarthy was asked about it. I think it was Michael Gilkin that asked him specifically. Of course, it was Michael
Tried
Gilkin.
to ask it in a nice way, but it's like, what were you thinking?
He did. He asked him, and Mike just put it very simply. He wasn't ready to stop playing at the end of the second quarter, and he said our guys needed to play. So, and then he also made a point in earlier in the press conference, he kept going back to saying he wants to get one going in and he wants to get one coming out. So he wants to score going in and score coming out. So the coin flip at the beginning of the game, and then him knowing that the Cowboys would have possession of the ball in the second half played a big factor in them going for that play with Michael Gallup, because they want to assure we're going to get one going into the half, and then we're going to get the ball coming out of this coming into the second half, and then we want to get another play and another score in there. So that was kind of the logic and reason within that, which I thought was important to hear from him.
Yeah. And one thing that I liked was a lot of the different personnel groupings that we saw. As reporters, we can't say things about formations and personnel that we see in training camp or the very little bit of practice that you get to see during the regular season. So, but they showed it early last night. Actually, the Giants defense called a timeout when the Cowboys were in the red zone. This is in the first half. And so after the timeout, the Cowboys changed the personnel grouping, but that was the first time that they had Deuce Vaughn and Kevontae Turpin on the field together.
He said, wait.
What a threat.
Wait.
That.
Yeah, that's what they did. You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But that's the Giants. There was like, you could tell
confused.
that they were
thrown off.
There was a substitution thing because it's like, this guy. I think that's what it was.
Yes,
they had 12 men on the field, and the guy tried to hustle back off. They ended up calling a timeout. But the other thing was the way, now, because it was a blowout, we saw a lot more rookies, and then we saw some offensive linemen rotate in there. But Hunter Lipke.
Yep.
What, an I formation with a fullback as a lead
fainted.
blocker?
Almost fainted.
Is this the 1970s?
Almost.
Oh my gosh! Is this Ron
man.
Springs or Robert Newhouse blocking for Tony Dorsett? What
saw
in the
the
heck
vision,
is
Mike.
going on here?
I saw the vision.
There you go.
I saw it.
Well, ladies, let's take our next break. When we come back, we have game balls to hand out here. We still have a lot more to talk about. Aisha, we haven't even talked about your guy, Osa Odigizua. Let's talk about it in this next block. We're taking our next break. We'll be right back. This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that sixth ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Welcome back to Girls Talk Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We are getting into even more of your Dallas Cowboys win against the New York Giants, 40-0 in case you forgot. But first, check out the latest and greatest addition to tours at AT&T Stadium. And at the Star in Frisco, meet Jerry Jones, an interactive experience. Get a peek behind the curtain and into the fascinating life of Jerry Jones. With a focus on innovative fan experience in partnership with AT&T, this innovative technology gives tourgoers the opportunity to ask Mr. Jones a variety of questions. For more information and to book your tour, visit dallascowboys.com/tours.
Translated, what is an interactive experience? That is the Jerry Jones hologram that finally debuted just as we're getting ready for the regular season. So
It looks cool.
It's very cool.
It looks really cool
It's
from
very
what I've
cool.
seen.
And so if you've had the great privilege to visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, there's like this opening film, and Coach Lombardi, Vince Lombardi, is this hologram, and it's really cool. But what's cool about this one here at the Star in Frisco with Jerry Jones is they've been working on this for a long, long time, and he has answered many, 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 many questions. And so as part of this interactive experience, when you go in, you can ask questions, and hologram Jerry will answer. So it's very neat.
That's cool. Well, I have a question over here. And we'll get to our game balls at the very end of this. I got to make you guys wait for something. Can't just give you all the good stuff at the beginning of the show. Aisha, let's get right to it. Osa Odigizua. He's a guy that when I hear his name, I think Aisha Morrison. And I think Aisha's going to want to talk about this on the podcast. Put it in the rundown. Just make note of it. A permanent spot, it feels like he's going to have in this rundown with the showing that he had in this first game. What did you see from Osa and the growth that he has made so far this season?
Oh, his recognition is so good. I mean, just to see, there were quite a few times Michael Parsons tweeted. He tweeted, like, anything for you, Osa, because he's taking on double teams. But really what struck me was Osa's awareness to see where he could take advantage. And then also, too, Dan Quinn's going to design stunts and stuff for him. But his hands are so violent, his speed off the line. I'm impressed with his growth. But I also want to make sure I mention the fact that Michael Parsons is the ultimate team player. He showed himself as the ultimate team player last night because a lot of the attention he got opened up things for everyone else. But as far as Osa goes, I'm ready to see more of him. We got to work on his celebration because I think he's going to be getting a lot more sacks.
He's going to need
He
it.
needs to.
Yeah,
He
something
needs
cool.
to.
Something that's going to get him in the open of Sunday Night Football.
He told me he did the James Bond thing last year, but I'm like, come on, Osa, you gonna be? He already has 2 sacks. He only had 4 last year.
Yeah.
It's that time.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, did you see Micah Parsons prowling around?
That
like
is
an
one of
actual
I got
lion?
chills. I got chills. That's one of my favorite celebrations I have
Terrifying.
ever seen. Oh,
I got scared.
he gonna have to keep that one. He gonna have to
I got
keep
scared.
that
That
one.
wasn't even Daniel Jones. Christy, I want to talk about that for a second because obviously we know the impact that Micah Parsons has on this team. That's nothing new. But somebody that I think got a different kind of recognition last night was Trayvon Diggs. And he kind of became the Micah Parsons for the cornerback room, if you will. He had an eye for the ball, whether he was the one being the ball hawk or not. And he made very key tackles. Can you talk about what you saw from Trayvon? And I saw a cute little clip of him giving Aiden Diggs the ball. I was wondering if you were around
that
to
was
see
on the forced fumble there late in the game, and the one that was recovered by Israel Mukwamu. And so actually Trayvon got that ball. I guess Israel doesn't get to take it home and put it on his mantle as a fumble recovery because he went and Trayvon got the ball and gave it to his son Aiden, who was sitting in the front row behind the Cowboys bench. We should also mention that Trayvon's brother, Stephon Diggs, one of the great wide receivers in the NFL, member of the Buffalo Bills. Of course, the Buffalo Bills are playing tonight, Monday Night Football at MetLife Stadium. So Buffalo had gotten in town late Sunday afternoon, and Stephon and some other Bills players had come to the Cowboys-Giants game. And so for part of the game, I saw him late in the second quarter. I don't remember seeing him in the second half, but Trayvon came over in between defensive series in the second quarter to greet Stephon, who had a spot on the front row there behind the Cowboys bench. But so much credit to Trayvon for the impact on that. In the first quarter, setting up Deron Bland's interception return for a touchdown.
I'm going to do it.
No, please don't.
I'm going to do it. He is anything but bland. Ladies and gentlemen, first of the season.
Sorry, Aisha.
First of many. No, Christy set me up. She knew it was coming.
had to do it. But no, I thought that was really Micah had the tone setter with the early sack, but from the defensive backfield standpoint, oh my gosh, that was such a key hit. And that's the thing, people don't think of Diggs as the guy who likes a lot of contact and hits, but he showed it last night that he's more than capable. And the thing is, he goes for the football, and so it resulted in 2 takeaways.
I tweeted like 2 weeks ago. I went back to look at, maybe it was 3 weeks ago. I went back to look at Stephon.
Blends together.
Yeah,
really
I went back to look at Stephon Gilmore's film from the Colts. One thing I noticed about him immediately was his willingness to tackle.
Yes.
Yeah. Not the biggest guy, but he will get out there and he's gonna try to wrap you up as good as he can. But sometimes he did lay the wood. Sometimes he can be punishing with how he tackles. And with Trayvon talking about how much Stephon's been a mentor to him, how much of an example he's been to him. If the veteran's doing it, I got to do it too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so at the minute that I saw him being that physical at the point of contact, I was like, Stephon Gilmore's imprint on this team, Brandon Cook's imprint on this team is visibly noticeable right away. Granted, Trayvon Diggs is his own player, but I'm sure the influence of him being there gives you no excuse. You don't want to be the guy in the room that's not matching the level of physicality that the whole defense is playing with.
Yeah. I believe it was during camp. Trey had talked about Stephon Gilmore going in there and kind of pushing him, and even with things he was eating, right?
The gummy bears, the gummy worms.
If Gilmore saw him eating, I think it was gummy bears or worms. I don't want to get that wrong. Gummy bears or worms. There's a big difference between the two. I don't want to get it wrong. Some kind of gummy snack, that if he saw them eating kind of junk, he was like, what are you doing? Why are you eating that? And then Trayvon would be like, okay, fine, and put it down. So when you have people like that push you, whether, they've been in the league, 3 years, 10 years, whatever the case is, you don't want to be the one that's playing catch up. So really excited to see that. But ladies, I don't want to run out of time here. We've been stewing on this question as far as who gets our game ball. I'm not sure I even have an answer yet, so I'm going to defer to you guys first, and I'm going to cheat a little bit. Christy, I'm going to go to you first, and I know you have a lot of sideline stories to give us, and we'll give you more tomorrow. Of course, we can't show our hand. We have to be like Dan Quinn was in this game, and we have to hold some good stuff back so you don't get the best of it yet.
This is our rain game plan.
This is our rain game.
We have to hold some of it back. Okay.
Who gets your game ball, Christy?
I think Aisha is going to take Osa. Oh, maybe not. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
I am assuming that Aisha will take Osa.
Okay.
So because of that, I'll go ahead and take Micah. It has to be a defensive player. And I'm sorry, Sunday Night Football on NBC, but Dak Prescott and Tony Pollard getting the game balls afterwards.
She's brought this up multiple times now.
Yes, this was a defensive triumph for the Cowboys, in my opinion.
But Dak even mentioned that. Dak said the defense deserves this, and he was kind of holding it like.
Yeah. But, okay, so I will go with Micah because, like you say, he draws so much attention. That early sack was a tone setter. But there are so many deserving nominees.
Aisha. Who gets your game ball?
If I was being funny, I would say Evan Neal, but I'm not going to be mean.
Oh,
that's the Giants' right tackle. Oh, my. Oh, my.
Wow.
Well, listen.
Victory Monday has us feeling away.
Hey,
Specifically Aisha. When I say us, I meant Aisha.
I mean, it's okay to be spicy sometimes, but I would say, the Giants' right tackle, but I'm going to say Chuma Edoga. I'm going to say for him to step in at that left guard position, especially since he didn't get that many snaps there, he's coming off of injury. To come in I was really worried about communication with this offensive line, especially since Wink Martindale does so many exotic looks, stunts, twists, all that stuff. But he held his ground so well, and I mean, like I said, it wasn't even him just like barely making it. It was sometimes him standing in there tall and holding those blocks for a good minute. He was active in the run game also too. I just wanted to highlight his play, and that moving forward, it gives you comfort going into the rest of the season that like this guy actually does have some. I think I was definitely skewed by seeing him against Micah in training camp, and just you have to rationalize. So I rationalized, and I was like, man, like no, he looks good at left guard. He can be fine there if you need him to come in. So I would say Chuma Edoga. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I'm saying it today.
I think that's
chest. I
like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
I was very impressed with his play.
Very good.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Mine's going to go special teams, but I'm kind of splitting my game ball into two parts here because this was technically it should be three, but I'm going to split it to two. I'm going to say Wanye Thomas and Noah Igbenogany because that was the first domino that fell in the line that let all the rest of the dominoes, there was a lot, there was 40 dominoes that fell against the Giants. They had none. And to me, that first drive by the Giants, I trust me, Twitter, I just need to stay off of Twitter during games sometimes. Twitter was going a little crazy, like, what's going on? And then as soon as there's a field goal attempt, you see Wanye Thomas flying to block that ball. Given it was set up by C.J. Goodwin, we talked about that. Flying to block the ball, Noah Igbenogany gets it in his hands, and he takes it back for that first 6 points. After that, what I love about that is the defense as a whole said, we're not letting you outshine us. Guess what they did? They stepped it up, and then that was the end of the story. Defense, special teams really kept this game alive. Offense, yes, there's going to be some wrinkles to iron out. That's no shade to the offense. They got 3 touchdowns at the end of the day. You really cannot complain of a 40-0 game. However, I'm giving my game ball to Wanye Thomas and Noah Igbenogany for setting the dominoes to just fall in the most beautiful way.
That's a great choice.
Yeah.
Love all these choices.
He threw a great block. Also, Wanye not only did he block the punt, he got up off his tail, threw the block.
It was insane
for Noah to run straight down the right sideline.
Absolutely.
Yep. And we will talk more about Wanye Thomas. There's not enough time today, but we'll talk more about Wanye Thomas and Marquise Bell. We didn't even get to talk about him today and what Dan Quinn specifically said about him. Again, we can't show all of our hands. We're doing our rain plan for y'all today, but that, unfortunately, is the end of our show today. We're back at 4 o'clock tomorrow, so ladies, thank you so much. Christy, please get some sleep between now and the time we see you tomorrow.
Yeah, remember, 6 o'clock tonight, Leighton Vander Esch, Cowboys Hour, presented by Miller Lite, Connie Rosso here at the Star District at the Star in Frisco.
Might have to check it out, get some pizza, listen to LVE, and maybe practice your wolf howl. I would howl, but I feel like that's really annoying. But thank you guys so much for joining us. For Aisha, Christy, and Jess, we'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. This has been Girls Talk Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Have a great rest of your day, and Carpe Omnia.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?